Views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Welcome to Cultural Brilliance Radio, the DNA of organizational excellence with Claudette Rowley. Conversations that are transforming the world of culture and business. Claudette brings fresh, innovative perspectives that push the boundaries of what organizational cultures can and should be. Learn how to catalyze your organization's workforce into an authentic, intentional, and financially successful culture. Now here's your host, Claudette Rowley.
Hi, everybody. This is Claudette Rowley, and you are listening to Cultural Brilliance, the DNA of organizational excellence on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour and let us help you experience groundbreaking ways to transform your company's culture. Twice each month, we have some of the foremost experts on organizational culture and leadership, helping you understand how to make a brilliant culture the rule rather than the exception. Today, I'm really excited about our guest. He is Dean Sluyter, and he is the author of Fear Less, Living Beyond Fear, Anxiety, Anger, and Addiction, which I think is such a timely topic. Let me introduce Dean. Dean has taught natural methods of meditation and awakening throughout the U.S. and beyond since 1970, from colleges and yoga studios to corporate offices and maximum security prisons. He's known for his warm, funny, down-to-earth style and for making authentic, life-transforming teachings accessible and easy. Dean's books include Natural Meditation, winner of the Nautilus Award for Best Book on Body, Mind, and Spirit Practices. He has appeared frequently in national media, including the New York Times, National Public Radio, the Oprah Magazine. When not writing or teaching, Dean plays the ukulele and happily rides his Vespa throughout the streets of Santa Monica. Welcome, Dean.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you. And I'm just envisioning you riding your Vespa through the streets of Santa Monica. That sounds very carefree.
It is. It's great.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I appreciate you being on the show and sharing your book with us, Fear Less.
Yep. It's really, this book came out last March, and it really has kicked up quite a bit of interest. I seem to have had the right timing on this. I mean, in some ways, of course, sadly, as we're speaking today, bombs are being delivered to people's mailboxes, and there's just, and last week it was something else, and next week it will be something else. There just seems to be so much of it in the air.
It's true there, and I think, again, as with media, social media, right, we know so much more about it than maybe we used to, and so much more of it's happening.
Right. Yeah. And in fact, somewhere in the book, I quote a letter that C.S. Lewis, the great Christian essayist and the author of the Narnia Chronicles, wrote to a friend shortly after the end of World War II, as those horrors were being replaced by the new horrors of the thermonuclear age. And he said something along the lines of, that today, now that we have newspapers, and of course, that was obviously before the internet, which just compounded the thing. He said, today with newspapers, now all the troubles of the world arrive at your doorstep every day, including a lot of things that we can't necessarily do anything about. And to me, this is actually a good place to begin. He says something along the lines of, I don't believe that it's the duty of the individual to be upset about things that he or she can't do anything about.
How interesting.
Yeah.
And what is your take on that?
My take is right on.
Right on.
What and in fact, he points out, and I've observed this a lot, that often, in fact, getting yourself upset. My parents were very political, and I remember them shouting at the TV screen, "Goddamn Richard Nixon!" And even then, I used to wonder, do they know that Nixon can't hear them through the screen?
Right.
And nowadays you'll see that people do, sometimes I think they feel that writing, some noble soliloquy on Facebook becomes a substitute for effective action.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying, oh, just be apathetic. As a meditation teacher, I'm often asked by people about this kind of the stereotype, the cliche that meditation just makes people passive and apathetic and, groovy, man, whatever. And it's not the case. What it means is that, among other things, as your vision, as your perception gets clearer, you more clearly distinguish between the things that you can do something about and what can I do about this? What are my steps of action? And the things that I can't do anything about.
So well said. And it's really interesting, what C.S. Lewis was talking about. And you just shared that it's not our duty or responsibility to take on the entire world, right? And to be upset about that.
Right.
Yeah. And I was just speaking, actually, just a couple of hours ago, I was speaking with a good friend. And she was saying how a couple of things have happened to her this week, experiences she had that have really activated some feelings of feeling less safe in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Although nothing physically happened to her. She was physically sick, but
Right.
on an emotional level.
Right.
And we were talking that through about really, realizing that her reality is that she is completely safe. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of taking it back to what's happening right now in this moment. And you are completely safe. And she gets that intellectually, but it was really struggling with how to emotionally get there, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm fine right now. Yeah.
Right. And that's exactly the kind of thing that I teach people in my workshops and in my books. And the thing is, it's actually very simple.
Mm-hmm.
What I like to do is give people a whole toolbox full of techniques that are all simple, all easy to do. And you find the ones that kind of resonate for you. For example, one very simple one, which is actually running on the Oprah's website. Her people picked up this chapter from my book and put it up on Oprah.com.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And the title of the chapter and really the description of the whole tool here, the whole method is breathe through your feet.
Mm.
So, for example, whatever's going on, you're in traffic and someone cuts you off, or you're in a business meeting and you're about to stand up and make the presentation and you're nervous about speaking in front of people, or whatever it might be, fear, anger, addictive cravings, you know that the friend is going to come around who is your friend from the bad old days, who's going to invite you back into those bad habits that you're trying to pull away from. So the method is very simple, and you want to practice it first before you get into those tricky situations. It's always good to do the fire drill before the fire. So very simply, and people listening to this can do this right now.
Great.
Put your attention on the soles of your feet.
Okay.
Now, there's no effort in that. Notice as soon as I say soles of your feet, okay, some attention is right there. Now, as you breathe in, as you take your next breath in, just imagine that you're breathing in through the soles of your feet. You don't have to breathe deep or whatever, however the breath is naturally. And then as you breathe out, imagine that you're breathing out through the soles of your feet. And breathing in through the soles of the feet. And breathing out through the soles of the feet. Let's do one more. Breathing in through the soles of the feet. And breathing out through the soles of the feet. That's simple.
That's simple.
Yeah. Now, you might notice, and people listening to this might notice, that even just doing 2 or 3 breaths like that, there's something settling, something centering and grounding about that. And
I can tell you what I noticed.
Yes, please.
Because I did the exercise as you were describing it. I felt like, I felt lighter. Actually, I feel lighter after just the 3 breaths in a positive way, right? Like some of the weight of the day fell off.
Yeah. And it's kind of amazing, isn't it? That
3 breaths just
really
focusing on my soles, my feet. Yeah.
Yeah. And another way to understand this is that if you're in the road rage situation or in the, addictive crave, whether it's craving for the drug or the, the next quart of chocolate chip ice cream or whatever it is that you really should let go of, that if part of your attention is on breathing through your feet, it means that your whole attention can't be totally caught up in that thing that's problematic. There's a part of you that is outside of it.
Absolutely. And so I felt lighter, as I described. And then as you mentioned, feeling grounded, right? Since I'm sitting, I felt that groundedness, right? Through my spine, right?
Right.
But that, I'm hoping a lot of listeners followed along with you, because wow, how long did that take us? Take like 20 seconds maybe?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, look, I've spent time in Tibet. I've spent time in India. I've spent time sitting and meditating in ashrams and in caves, and that's great. But the reality is most people in our culture are not going to do that. So what I've considered to be my particular role is to take what I've learned there, take what I've experienced there. I mean, I've been on silent retreats that were months long, but most people are not going to do that, but kind of find the fruit of that, find the essence of that, and find ways that are easy for people to integrate them into the actual lives that they're living.
Right. Something, we can all find 20 or 30 seconds.
Yes,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. To be able to move through something like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I also include in the book, in Fearless, things that you can do while you're doing things that you already do anyway. For instance, there's things that you can do in the shower in the morning that I do every morning to open up your voice. And voice is very important because the voice is very intimately tied up with all your kind of inner energies and with the expression of your personality, and other people pick up on that. You know how you hear some people's voices and you just don't want to listen. It's true. Some people's voices, they're full of stress, or they're full of uncertainty, or they are just the tone of it. It becomes kind of, I could remove wallpaper with that sound.
Mm-hmm.
And some voices are, you just want to listen to them. And particularly in the field that you specialize in business and organization, it's important that when you speak, people want to listen to you. So there are things that you can do actually while you're driving, but ideally in the shower where things are echoey and the nice, warm, moist air loosens up your vocal cords, for opening up the voice, for getting it more relaxed and rich.
And that sounds amazing. And what I'd love to do is take a quick break, and then when we come back, have you share more with us about how we can actually enrich our voice in that particular way, because that sounds so important, like you said, in this day and age, and especially at work.
Perfect.
You're listening to Cultural Brilliance, the DNA of organizational excellence. We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Conscious Confidence Radio, a timeless wisdom with Sarah Main. Tune in each month on Transformation Talk Radio and join Sarah on an adventurous journey to the deeper level of meaning to move beyond today's world of constant change, confusion, and uncertainty beyond the shadow of fear. This hit show explores key concepts such as confidence, values, and attitude in a dynamic way. To learn more about Sarah and her work, visit sarahmain.com.
Demystifying the Journey on From Here to There Radio with your host, Diane Garris. Tune in every third Wednesday, 4 p.m. Pacific Time on TransformationTalkRadio.com as Diane helps you get from where you are now to the life you envision. Get ready to get unstuck and move forward. Every show features a new special segment, New Age Notes, demystifying hot metaphysical topics of the day. For more information or to work with Diane, Visit DianeGarris.com.
On the cutting edge of the new mainstream, Christine Upchurch is passionate about bringing together science, psychology, and spirituality in a way that can be applied to our everyday lives for true transformation. The Christine Upchurch Show, stellar conversations to illuminate your journey, engages some of the most outstanding visionaries on the planet in lively dialogue to inspire you to become that bright light you're meant to be. Join Christine every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on KKNW, AM 1150, and Transformation Talk Radio.
This is Debbie Pokornik with a moment for standing in your power. Self-control begins with noticing how different feelings present themselves in your body. When you're feeling sensitive, for example, your chin might quiver, tears might well up in your eyes, and your voice might catch in your throat. Anger, on the other hand, might appear as tension in your jaw, back, or arms, along with clenched fists, heat in the upper torso, scowling, and a strong desire to yell. The more aware you become of your body cues, the easier it will be to recognize when you're on the road to disaster. Choose the emotions that cause you problems, then start noticing and logging the body cues that come with them.
For information and to work with Debbie, visit empoweringnrg.com. That's empoweringnrg.com.
We're back on Cultural Brilliance Radio. This is Claudette Rowley, and I'm here with my guest today, Dean Sluyter. Dean is the author of Fearless, Living Beyond Fear, Anxiety, Anger, and Addiction. And Dean, right before the break, you were starting to share with us some techniques or exercises or methods that we can use to really get our voices going in the morning.
Right.
Right.
So the very basic version of it is just sing in the shower. That simple. There's something about just letting your voice go in a free way that opens things up, relaxes things, gets you ready for the day, gets your energies mobilized. Now, then, if you want to get a little deeper into it, we can be a little more specific. What you want to do is, sing all over the place, whatever. Sing show tunes, sing rock and roll, sing gospel, whatever floats your boat. But also, you want to hold long, low tones. Like you fool around, experiment, find the lowest note that you can sing at full volume. So, this is customized for you. So if you're a soprano, your low note might be somewhere ah. And if you're a baritone like me, it's somewhere more, let's see, ah. Mm-hmm. And just take a deep breath and then hold that for as long as you can comfortably. And that is very, very good for strengthening, excuse me, speaking of, for strengthening the voice, for strengthening the vocal cords so that they don't get subjected to strain. When we think of the stereotyped old person's voice, the old man, hey, you kids, get off my lawn, or the, the evil witch lady, I'll get you and your little dog too. That's not something that necessarily has to come with age. That comes with strain, which for most people happens with age. But so this is a way to prevent that from happening and keep your voice, juicy and resonant and young. Just that simple thing of holding the low tones. Like that. Now, one more step where it becomes actually meditative. And that is, once you've found that low tone for you, you find the tone that is 5 steps higher. 5 steps higher. And then you start at that higher note. I'll demonstrate this in a second. You start at that higher note, and then you swoop down into the lower note. So for me, it would be something like, That's what in music is called a descending fifth. Mm-hmm. You're starting at the, for people who know music, you're starting at the 5 and then doing a glissando down to the 1. If those words are confusing to you, don't worry about it. Here's the easy way to remember it. Oh, say, can you see? Right? Just those first 2 notes. Oh, say. That's a descending 5th.
Oh, okay.
And if you don't like the Star Spangled Banner, if you're from south of the Mason-Dixon line, the Dixie, weirdly enough, it starts with the same 2 notes. Or if you don't like either of those, just remember Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. Right? So you start at the higher note and then hold that lower note as long as you can comfortably. Now, the descending 5th, or that relationship, the 5th, is the one interval that is found in every kind of music, every scale, major, minor, Eastern, Western. There is something about it that is universal to human consciousness. And what it is mathematically is when you go up to the 5th, like let's say we're in the key of C, so C, D, E, F, G. When you get up to G there, that's as far away as you can get from the C before you start getting closer to the next C in the next octave up. So in other words, that is the maximum tension. Musically, that's the maximum tension, the maximum amount of suspension between 2 notes. So when you then swoop down into the lower one, you're releasing that tension. That's the key thing. You're releasing tension. So you can visualize this as you're singing. When you're on that higher one, just be, you can feel like you're like maybe some like little drop of water or something suspended way up in space. And then as you swoop down into the lower note, it's like you're descending and just melting into this warm, boundless ocean of beingness. And you'll find that's completely meditative, completely relaxing, not only for the voice, but for your whole body and mind.
Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
That is really fast. It's so practical and easy, and it's really fascinating just to hear about it and learn about it. I don't think most of us are aware of what you just shared, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of the high note, the descending 5th, and what that can do for you. It sounds like just spending a day or a minute or 2 a day on it.
Yeah. And you can do it in the shower, and you're in the shower anyway. So when people say, "Oh, I don't have time to do meditation," that's when I'm. I know people are busy, and so I specialize in sharing methods that will just integrate with the life you're already living.
Right. Which makes a lot of sense. So one thing I've been curious about since we started our conversation here, and we started at the beginning talking a little bit about fear and how people as individuals may take on a fear that's bigger than what's happening or take on the bigger fear around them, right? What C.S. Lewis did. And what is your perspective on that? Why do we sometimes take that on, even though there's nothing we can do about it individually?
Right. It's a matter of it's an attentional thing. It's a matter of where our attention goes. Our attention tends to go to the moving object, the shiny object, right?
Yes.
We're drawn to drama. That we go to movies, we read books. There's always the old saying is drama is conflict. No one ever wrote a novel or made a movie where the story arc is once upon a time a guy was lying in a hammock enjoying a tall, cool drink and everything was fine. The end, right? Our attention is drawn to problems, is drawn to drama. Now, more and more as we were discussing in the first segment, we have all kinds of media and we have the internet and so forth to bring every possible source of drama to every person's attention. And if there aren't enough real ones, they just make them up. You look at some of these clickbait headlines now that are just, so kind of bogus. where they'll prod someone into saying something a little spicy in an interview and then stick that one thing in the headline. This person called this person a liar, whatever it is. And so, the sad fact is that there are a lot of people around us who are ready to exploit that. Every time they get you to click on that headline, they make whatever fraction of a penny it is. Or there are politicians, and we'll stay nonpartisan here. I won't name any names, but there are politicians who build their whole careers on whipping up fear, whipping up anxiety. There are always people who are ready, whether they're politicians or the old snake oil salesman in the 19th century, who are ready to whip up your fears and tell you, fortunately, I have the solution to your problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's really important in my own experience, and also based on what you've shared so far today, that we realize, right, that part of this is an intentional issue. It's what we're drawn to. And you've already given us 2 techniques to stop that, right?
Right. And here's a third, which is, and I have a chapter about this in the book, which is titled, Would It Help? Mm-hmm. Would it help? And I took that title from a line in the Steven Spielberg film in 2015, Bridge of Spies. Did you see that by any chance?
I think so, yes.
Okay, so it's based on the true story of a Soviet spy who was caught in New York during the Cold War in the 1950s, put on trial for his life. He was played by the great Mark Rylance, who actually won an Oscar, supporting Oscar for the role. And in his so he's assigned an American lawyer to defend him. Fortunately, his lawyer is Tom Hanks. So, there you go. The things can't be too bad.
Right.
And in their first jailhouse meeting, Tom Hanks tells him, listen, don't talk to anyone else. Don't trust anyone else. I'm the only person here who is invested in helping you. The Americans and the Russians both would be very happy to see you go to the electric chair. Mm-hmm. And the spy hears that, takes it in for a moment, and then he kind of shrugs and he says, all right. And Tom Hanks says, you don't seem worried. And he listens, he digests for a second. He says, would it help?
Right. Would it help to actually be worried? Right.
Would it help to actually be worried? And the answer, of course, is no. So this is actually a method. This is a mantra, if you will, to when you find yourself about to fly into a tizzy about something or whatever, or chew this person out or something, you ask yourself the question, would it help? That cuts through a whole lot of stuff.
That does. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I'm really interested to continue talking about this, because I think it is such an overlooked yet incredibly simple way to move through life.
Yeah.
This is Claudette Rowley, and you are listening to Cultural Brilliance Radio. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to stop stress, anxiety, and low self-esteem from running your life? Join award-winning author Dr. Friedemann Schaub for Empowerment Radio and learn breakthrough solutions to switch out of survival mode and approach every day with great ease, joy, and purpose. Tune in the first and third Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific to Empowerment Radio with host Dr. Friedemann Schaub on Transformation Talk Radio. Visit thefearandanxietysolution.com to learn more.
Tune in to Knowledge Book Radio with host Marge Potasic each Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Through many experiences, Marge was led to the Knowledge Book, a gift to humanity in its transition to the Golden Age, and it provided the truth and the answers. She now shares information from the Knowledge Book with you each week on TransformationTalkRadio.com. For more information, visit usa.theknowledgebook.net.
High-frequency healing for an amazing life with Source Light Radio. Join host Laura Barton each month on Transformation Talk Radio as she explores Source Light integration a unique spectrum of energy, light, and frequency. Experience instantaneous healing and amazing shifts in consciousness with Source Light Integrations Radio. For more information on Laura and her work, visit sourcelightintegrations.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Scheidegger, clinical hypnotherapist and founder of Swiss Hypnotherapy. My goal is to help you to reach your goal, and this is a tip with purpose. Everybody wants it, and nobody has enough of it. But it comes to a point that you have to tell yourself, I can get more. I want more. I deserve more. I'm talking about money. More money, more money, more money. That's what people want. But what has to be done? Your thoughts have to change. That you can allow yourself to tell yourself, I have money and I want more money. How much money? What is it? Put it out there. Write it down. What would you do with more money? How would you feel to have more money? I hope this tip helps you going through the day today. You can reach me at 323-999-4775 or at my website at swisshypnotherapy.com.
Join Jennifer Noel Taylor on the hit show Quantum Touch Radio, supercharging your life on transformationtalkradio.com. You'll take a quantum journey as we reveal powerful yet simple steps to create more abundance, better health, emotional and mental vibrancy, and happier relationships using universal quantum touch principles. For more information, visit jennifernoeltaylor.com.
We're back on Cultural Brilliance Radio. I'm your host, Claudette Rowley, here with my guest today, Dean Sluyter, who is the author of the really wonderful book, Fearless. And Dean, we've been having a conversation that's been, I think, really interesting and insightful. And you've also given listeners some practical things they can already take away and use. So if they want to find out more about your work and your books, what's the best way to reach you?
Best way is to go to my website, which is deanwords.com. deanwords.com. And I've got a lot of resources there. I have chapters from all my books. I've actually written 5 books. And you can find my teaching schedule. I do a lot of traveling. I travel around the country giving talks, keynotes, workshops. And also you can contact me if you're interested in bringing me to your organization or your business or your I do presentations at wellness centers, yoga studios, and also a number of businesses and professional organizations. I did one in the Guatemalan rainforest for the Young Presidents Organization. I've done a couple, and one of my favorites is a Ford dealership in New Jersey. The owner, it's actually a great big Ford dealership there, and she had come to one of my workshops in a yoga studio and loved my work. And she said, she got together with me and said, car dealers are car sales staff are really stressed. Everyone's trying to make their numbers at the end of the month. And so she brought me to her dealership, and we had, a couple of lunchtime sessions for her sales staff. And, if you think the phrase car salesman in New Jersey, and what you visualize,
right?
Pretty much what a lot of these were kind of big Tony Soprano looking guys. And when they first walked in, I thought, I wonder how this is going to work. And It was great. They really understood the importance of what I was sharing. They really appreciated the simplicity of it. And a number of them came up to me afterward at the end and to share things like, I'm under such pressure. Please don't tell the boss I'm taking pills to, boost my energy, and this and that. And it was really great. So I particularly love doing workshops, bringing this to professional organizations. I've worked with lawyers groups, with medical groups. So you can contact me through the website, and you can see videos and samples of some of my work. So again, that is deanwords.com.
Great. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Deanwords.com. Yeah. And I love the examples of the range. Yeah, your range, right? Car dealership in New Jersey. What was the Guatemalan rainforest, right?
Yeah. Because, people are pretty much the same. For a lot of years, my day job was teaching at a very, very upper crust prep school in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And I was an English teacher, but I also ran meditation programs. And these were for kids, for the most part, from affluent homes who were getting ready to go to top universities. And that was great. And they really understood, under that kind of academic pressure, they really understood the value of having some meditative practice in their lives. Mm-hmm. But for me, it got a little bit out of balance. I said, boy, I'm spending a lot of time working for the rich folks here. I need to balance this out. So I got another gig one night a week down the road from that school in Newark, New Jersey, in Northern State Prison, which is a maximum security prison. It's considered the roughest prison in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And I started a group there, and I've been working with those guys. And now that I was going there every Thursday night, now that I live in California, the group continues to meet every Thursday without me, but I go out several times a year. I'm actually going to be out there next week, working with those guys. But my point is, it's pretty much the same. People. At first, I wondered, how am I going to teach these prison guys? It's going to be very different from teaching these kids who are bound for the Ivy Leagues. It's pretty much the same. Human beings are prison is just like everywhere else, only more so.
Right.
The pressures are more intense. The danger is more intense. The reality that there's a lot of the outside stuff that we can't do anything about. Again, would it help? That's true for everyone, but it's more intensely true in prison. So it's a great place to practice meditation and a great place to teach it. Where I was really able to learn a lot from these guys.
What's an example of something you learned? I was really curious about that.
Well, as a matter of fact, I have a chapter about it in the book. The chapter is called Testimony, where I took a particular case of one guy that I worked with. And when he first came in, a friend kind of dragged him into the first meeting, and you could see reluctantly when he first came in, his eyes were just like hooded, like he was looking left and right, like, what the hell is this BS? But he sat, he listened, he did the meditation. And at the end of the session, I could see he looked a little bit softened up. And believe me, his arms were covered with tattoos. He's got a tattoo on one hand that says, "In me, I trust." And he described himself as a drug gang assassin from the streets of Newark, New Jersey. So he came back the next week and again did the meditation, and then he looked a little more softened up, and he kept coming. And after a while, he started talking, he started laughing, and I could just see all that armor melting away. And eventually I asked him, I became so fascinated. I asked him if he wouldn't mind sharing his life story. I was fascinated to know how he'd gotten that way and how he wound up being where he was. Yeah. And he wrote me his life story in a series of letters. And it started with him standing on a street corner in downtown Newark, New Jersey, which is a pretty rough town, at the age of 7, receiving $1 from the local drug dealer who would hang out on that corner and every day would give him $1 so he could run to the store and buy candy. And as he was receiving that $1, there was a drive-by shooting, the dealer was whacked, and the little 7-year-old boy got blood all over him. Now, where do you go from there?
Right.
Some people just don't get a whole lot of a chance. And from there, the whole story just, gets worse and worse. Bad situation at home. He goes away to live with a cousin. The cousin starts bringing him out into the backyard to shoot guns, starting with targets and then with dogs and then with people. Yeah, and he didn't want to do it, but the first time the cousin wanted him to shoot at people, and the cousin took a gun and the butt of a gun and beat the back of the boy's hand, and broke bones in his hand. And he said, I never argued with him after that. And it was just horrific. And then what I saw in prison as he continued to participate in the group and to do these various meditative methods is it's as if that armor was melting away, and he was finding that sweet innocent heart of that 7-year-old boy that he had once been. He was unburying that from under all those layers. It was just wonderful to watch. And later on, after I moved to California, in one of his letters, it came in a kind of manila envelope that felt kind of lumpy. And I thought, geez, what's this? And he had long hair. His hair was in long cornrows. And I opened it up, and there was his hair. He had cut off his hair. And he said, please donate this to Locks of Love for some kid who's lost their hair to chemo.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
So, the story is, it sounds like he had something beyond brutal as a childhood.
Yes.
And horrific. And then, to help him, it sounds like, get back in touch with his humanity and who he is as a human being. Right?
Absolutely.
That's what happened.
Absolutely. And part of the moral of the story for me is that no one is beyond redemption. No one is beyond, everyone has that human core. And that if you feel, oh no, I'm sunk too deep into this particular stress, this particular tragedy, this particular heartbreak, this particular addiction, where, we have here in Santa Monica, we have a session that's open to the public. It's free every other Tuesday night. And a lot of people in the local 12-step community have discovered us. So a number of addicts in recovery come. And, no one is too sunk into addiction. I keep seeing that over and over. I had one experience some months ago, which I tell the story in the book. A girl, maybe about 19 or 20, came a few times, didn't say anything. And then one night, just before she left the session, she took me over privately and she said, I wanted to mention to you, I'm a heroin addict. I've been in recovery for 6 months. In the meditation tonight, I felt a peace and a wholeness and a happiness that I didn't think I could feel that way again in this lifetime without drugs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So of course I'm choking back the tears.
I'm sure you were.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And I have a chapter about this, about this as really kind of the missing piece of the 12-step program, because, and there's so much of that these days, so much opioid addiction and so forth. And there's a lot of wisdom and a lot of effectiveness in the 12-step program. And I discuss this, that actually Bill Wilson, the founder of AA, the originator of the 12 steps, knew that the 11th step, which is the key step, which is through prayer and meditation, we made conscious contact with the higher power. Okay. He knew that the 11th step was weak in its practice. And I discuss in the chapter why that is, how we know that he knew that.
We're going to take a quick break.
Okay, good.
And when we come back, I'd love to hear more about that because it sounds really, really interesting.
Great.
So you're listening to Cultural Brilliance Radio. I'm Claudette Rowley here with Dean Sluyter. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Did you know that all of the shows on the Transformation Radio Network are available as podcasts to stream or download?
Really?
Check us out. Go to transformationradio.fm. We have business shows, spiritual shows, energy healing shows, and pretty much everything in between. Something for everyone, guaranteed to inspire, educate, and transform. We are transforming the world, one listener at a time.
What is holding you back from living the life you are meant to live? Why is it vital to believe in something bigger than yourself? Are you in physical or emotional pain? Tune in monthly to Vibrant Purposeful Living. Awaken the vibrant life within you with Lou Paradise and Dr. Pat on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Lou's passion is to help everyone experience positive solutions for life. Find out more about Lou with Vibrant Purposeful Living at LouParadise.com.
Living Lighter Radio with Jason and Patricia. We have an ecosystem approach to your life. Tune in weekly every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio as we, Jason and Patricia, discuss what's truly holding you back. We offer you the tools you need to reach your goals and at the same time be living lighter. For more information about Living Lighter, visit www.livinglighter.org.
Miss any shows during the week? Don't worry, we've got you covered. With the free Transformation Talk Radio app, you'll have access to all of the past week's shows in the palm of your hand. Tune in to Transformation Talk Radio anywhere you go with our free app for any of your devices. Check out our app in the App Store and Google Play Store today.
Hi, this is Laura Richer, host of On the Verge Radio. Sometimes you hear encouraging messages like transform your life now, become empowered, create the life you crave, and it all seems overwhelming and you're not sure where to start. I'm here to tell you that self-improvement is not always fun and easy, but it is always worth it. The path to creating positive changes begins with releasing the things that have been holding you back. Then you can create a life that inspires you. I know this because I've done it. You can find out more about what I do by visiting my website, seattlehealinghypnosis.com. I look forward to supporting you on your journey.
Are you ready to embrace your essence and the magic of who you are? Let me, Emily Perkins, hold your hand and walk with you as we go treasure hunting for the gold that lies within you. Tune in to Love Living Radio every second and fourth Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. For more information, visit LoveLivingHolistics.com.
I'm Claudette Rowley, and you are back on Cultural Brilliance Radio. So, Dean, one thing we were talking about just before the break was you were starting to share about how the 11th step and the 12 steps, right, the 12-step program is weak. I know there was a story you were going to tell us about.
Right. Yeah. Or it may be better to say that the way it's practiced is weak. The premise of it is perfect. The first 10 steps, in a sense, are all kind of cleaning things up, cleaning the decks, getting ready for the 11th step. You know, the first 10 are you make evaluation, you make amends to people, you recognize that you're powerless in the face of your addiction and so forth. And all this is really preparing for the 11th step, which is through prayer and meditation, making conscious contact with the higher power. Now, Bill Wilson, the originator of the 12 steps, by the 1950s, realized that the 11th step was not really working. People were, they'd have some nice idea. They'd say a prayer that would, express some nice sentiment about a higher power, something bigger, but it wasn't truly conscious contact in the sense that, like, if I put my hand on the table right now, that's conscious contact. Conscious contact is not just a mood or a feeling or a nice idea. It's much more simple and straightforward and real than that. It's direct experience. Mm-hmm. And most people in their prayer or meditation, they're not necessarily having that kind of conscious contact with the higher power. Now, higher power is of course the phrase that's used in the 12 steps. I'll use a more simple, straightforward phrase like beingness, pure awareness, the infinite okayness because we've all had experiences of that when you were little, or just playing under the old apple tree by yourself, and kind of time and space go away. Or when a lot of people, it happens when they're doing something athletic, they're playing tennis, or they're playing their guitar, or they're doing their pottery, or they're weeding the garden. When you go into the so-called zone, and you feel, as you said before, with breathing through your feet, you feel light, and kind of time goes away, space goes away, and you just, for no particular reason, everything's fine.
Right.
Now, that is a glimpse into the way that so-called enlightened people feel all the time, but kind of multiply that by infinity. And that's conscious contact. That's what we make contact with in effective meditation. So what Bill Wilson realized was he didn't have effective meditation, and he started doing exploration. For a while, he actually was taking LSD with some of the early psychedelic pioneers of the 1950s, Aldous Huxley and others. And eventually, shortly before he died, he actually was instructed in a deep form of natural meditation. And this is very little recorded. It's not much there in the 12-step history, but I happen to know this because an old friend of mine, a teaching colleague of mine, instructed him. Mm-hmm. And what happened was Bill and some friends and family were in his house in New England. It was winter, and Bill was instructed in it, and after he opened his eyes from the first meditation, and he was dying of emphysema from smoking a couple of packs of cigarettes a day, which happens, the 12-step drug of choice, actually.
Right.
And he opened his eyes from the meditation, and even in his weakened state, he jumped up, ran out of the house to breathe the cold winter air, ran back in and shouted, "This stuff works."
Great.
So this is, the feedback that I get from the people that I work with who've been struggling with addiction is the same thing. This stuff works. Just like the girl that I was talking about in the last segment.
Right.
This is the missing piece. That if you're feeling that way more and more, feeling that way all the time, just the craving for whatever you're addicted to, whether it's booze or drugs or quarts of ice cream or sex addiction, whatever it is, it just kind of falls away.
I was just thinking as you were sharing those really vivid stories about what it would be like if almost everybody, right, knew how to meditate and did it quite often. And I could just see it, like, it feels like things become much simpler then, right, in terms of choices and decisions, right? Well, we'll just solve the problem this way.
Absolutely.
That way, right?
Yes, I'm so glad you used that word, simpler. That is what I experienced in my life, that it used to be, I just don't have to do nearly as much thinking about stuff as I used to. Mm-hmm. It's more and more, years ago, I've never been good with mechanical things. And I had something, I think it was a Christmas present for my son, and there's something that, some assembly required, batteries not included. And I was completely stumped by this thing, and I'm there with the instructions trying to put it together, and I couldn't figure it out. And my son, who's very good with these things, went, "Pop, look at this." And he went, boom, 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 here you go. And right. And I said, "How do you know this?" He said, you look and you know. Mm-hmm. And more life becomes that way. You look and you know.
You look and you know. Yeah. And I know I've been around people who can do what your son can do as well, right? And they do just look and know, right? It's just obvious to them.
And I'm still no good with mechanical things, right. but in terms of the life things, it's more and more that way. You look and you know. You don't have to agonize over decisions. You can feel it, like, this way, when I think about going this way, it feels like congested. It feels like, no, I feel resistance there. The door's closed. When I think of going this way, I feel open space. Go into the open space. It's like a basketball player rushing the net. Oh, here's the path through the guys defending the net in that, fraction of a second before you dunk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sounds like it just becomes clear. You're more in touch probably with, one is more in touch with their own intuition, right?
Absolutely.
Sense of self.
And that's why so many business leaders are realizing now that they can't afford not to be doing this kind of thing. Because the data that you have to process, it's too complex to work it all out any other way. I've got a story in the book about a friend of mine who's an oil trader, and he millions of dollars can depend on whether you click the mouse, a fraction of a second before or after all the other traders who are watching their screens as the price of oil futures goes up and down. And his preparation is he meditates every morning before he starts trading, and he knows. He said, they're all thinking about the same data. They've all got the same information. The difference is, do I have that little bit more clarity than the others?
Yeah. Oh, that makes such a huge difference. And Dean, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. This has really, truly been a pleasure.
Same.
And your website, right?
Yes.
Deanswords.com?
Deanwords.com. There's no S in the middle.
Oh, my apologies. Yeah. Deanwords.com.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Good. Deanwords.com. Yeah. So thank you so much. It's really been great.
It's been great, and really appreciate all the words of wisdom and the perspectives you shared with listeners today. Everybody listening, deanwords.com for more information on Dean and his website, his books, his speaking engagements. And as always, we had a wonderful time. I want to thank all the listeners for being here. Please join us the second and fourth Fridays of each month at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Have a great couple of weeks, and we'll see you back here next time.
You've been listening to the hit show Cultural Brilliance Radio, the DNA of organizational excellence with Claudette Rowley. Conversations that are transforming the world of culture and business. You can download this podcast and find out more about Claudette and her breakthrough work at ClaudetteRowley.com. Please contact Claudette and find out how you can create a brilliant culture.